Hey, Justice Warriors, good evening. So, I'm doing the Cliff Notes of this morning's live, which that was a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody who was there. Everybody except for the troll. Not thanks to the troll, but you know, it's food for fodder, so I guess we can thank them too. Anyway, we were discussing the precipitating event and factors of not necessarily the Idaho 4 case, but more so with the SWAT team incident that happened a month and a day later down the road in Pullman. Everything that I say is simply my opinion. It's for the sake of conversation, hoping to open up a discussion and to learn something. And my videos are made specifically for YouTube, which is an entertainment platform. So, here we go. Oh, please hit that like button if you don't mind, and share and subscribe. I guess a lot of people have been getting unsubscribed without their knowing lately, so there's that. Anyway, let's get back on topic here. So Brent Kopaka, the Army vet that was involved in that SWAT team incident in Pullman on December 14th, and then he was shot with a bullet from the SWAT team 4 a.m. on December 15th. And that bullet came from Brett Boyd, who just so happens to be a sergeant with the Pullman PD. So, I made the observation in this morning's video that law enforcement, in my opinion, is not doing their job of serving and protecting and keeping these communities safe, Moscow and Pullman, with all of these homicides that happened in November, December. It's a lot. It's crazy. And I really am curious if people know about the fight that allegedly happened between Xana and Dylan on Halloween. So I've heard the chatter that there was an incident that maybe Xana threw something at Dylan, but I don't know. I don't know if that's true. But, you know, there's a lot of speculation these days on a lot of the channels wondering if substances were involved in this whole picture, like people consuming substances, people hiding substances, people dealing, trafficking, which in my experience that would make a lot of sense if that were potentially the case, because oftentimes communities will try to protect the deceased and their families by not talking about the substances, because it's embarrassing. It is humiliating for the families, and it's just out of respect for the families and the deceased. So that's something that I am getting more and more curious about, that there is actually a connection there. Excuse me, I'm very thirsty, always. So, it seems that Dylan's dad is being sued for the third lawsuit since this incident happened in the house that she lived in back 3 months ago, November. So 3 lawsuits since then. That's a lot. 1 lawsuit is a lot. It's very stressful. So that just brings to mind, like, what's up with that? What's up with Dylan's dad that people are suing him? And I feel like we really need to know where Bethany and Dylan were, not only that night, which I believe they said they were at the same party that Ethan and Xana were at, but where were they that day? And do they have jobs? Where do they work? Xana's sister goes to Wazoo. Don't forget that. That's important. And I just want to say, in my opinion, it's preposterous to think that the narrative of one person going into this residence with at least Xana awake, probably Ethan awake, probably even Kaylee awake, and doing all this in roughly 10 minutes is absolutely preposterous, in my opinion. And I feel very upset about the public being sold this fake narrative at the beginning that everybody was asleep and in bed when this happened. because then it was a lot more plausible. Okay, maybe one person could go in and do that in roughly 10 minutes if everybody's passed out cold. Even then, I thought they might have been roofied. How would you make sure that they stayed passed out cold while there was all this ruckus going on? Anyway, so it seems like they weren't passed out cold. And what about the DoorDash delivery? Could that DoorDash delivery, I know it's been looked into, but could that have been involving substance delivery or pickup? I don't know. It's just a question that came to my mind today. Um, anyway, where else? I have this question. Could the Papa Roger and all of the other profiles that seem to be possibly the criminal defendants, what if they were all socks that other people made to make the criminal defendant look more guilty? Just a question. What if? It really honestly never crossed my mind until yesterday. Of course, a lot of the accounts I've always thought were probably fake accounts, but that Papa Roger one and the Inside Looking one, those seemed potentially him, but even those could be fake, could be part of basically a setup. And I am in no way wanting to defend the criminal defendant. Honestly, I have no idea if he is guilty or innocent. He certainly looks guilty from a lot of what we've seen, but optics are optics, and what we see is what people there in Moscow want the public to see, what the media presents and what law enforcement presents. So just because somebody looks guilty, it doesn't mean that they are, and it's just not adding up. So I'm pretty upset about the inconsistencies. So somebody in my chat this morning brought this question up, which was brilliant, and I'm sorry that I don't have your name written down. I should do that so that you can get credit. I'll try to put it in the comment section. Why did Jack not go across the street and get Murphy from the crime scene? Remember, the dog was taken by animal control, and then he picked up the dog from animal control. And maybe that was part of law enforcement wanting to, check Murphy for prints or something. I mean, I'm being facetious, but at the same time, you know what I mean. That they might have wanted to take Murphy to give him a once-over, basically. But was he even at the crime scene? Was Jack even at the crime scene? There's all the confusion about, did he sleep at his house? Did he sleep at his parents' house? The story that Kaylee's parents have is that he drove to their house, which is just north of Coeur d'Alene, immediately the following day on Sunday. And it took him a couple hours to get there, they said, because he was coming from Moscow. So that would mean that he probably slept in Moscow that night, unless he went from Moscow to his parents at Coeur d'Alene and then back to Moscow and then up to see Kaylee's parents. And who knows? I mean, it was a crazy night, right? Who knows? But did Dylan lure Kaylee to Moscow for the party the night before? Again, this was another question that another one of my commenters had. Did Dylan lure Kaylee to Moscow for the party that was the night before this happened? Because Kaylee's mother has said all along that Kaylee was not planning to be in Moscow. And then she went there to show her new car off to Maddie, right? That's the story that we've all heard. But then she went to that party the night before, Friday night. And I think that's the party where Dylan and Kaylee took pictures in their cute skin-tight black dresses. And I think that one or both of those photos might be the ones that Dylan posted at around 12:30, 3.5 hours before the unaliving, I think. I'm not sure. So if anyone knows, please put that in the comment section below. But something that came to my mind about ex-boyfriend Jack D, and a parallel to the Kylie Rodney case with ex-boyfriend Jagger. both of these boyfriends were ex-boyfriends, and they both acted like they were boyfriends. And I understand that just because you're broken up doesn't mean that you don't care about somebody, but it just seemed like they really both tried to insert themselves, kind of attention seeking, like to be center stage, like, oh, poor me. Like, poor you? What about poor Kaylee or Kylie, right? So, again, one of my commenters, thank you, commenter. I got to get better about writing my names down so I can give credit in the Cliff Notes. But like I said, I'll put it in the comment section below. One of my commenters said that Steve G had all of the roommates, and I think I remember who it was, but I don't want to mess it up. Anyway, he had all of the roommates and friends line up in the family kitchen to show the family that they didn't have any scratches on them. And the person that was offering this in the chat was quoting an interview that Steve G gave with 48 Hours, and that he said that. I think the journalist, the investigative journalist, was Van Zant. Anyway, again, I'll put it all in the comments. There's just way too many names to keep track of them all. But that's what my notebook is for, right? Anyway, I thought that was stunning. I had always known that Steve and his wife, the Gonzalez parents, that Jack had come over and taken off his shirt and showed them that he didn't have any scratches. And it kind of creeps me out, like from both the perspective that the parents didn't trust these people and from the perspective that, like, Jack was, like, wanting to take his shirt off and showed up in shorts. Like, I don't know, it just seems a little much. It seems kind of overdoing it. And my point, too, is that just because somebody doesn't have scratches on them, it doesn't mean that they didn't have any involvement at all. Like, it just seems like there's a rat. It seems like there's more to it. And perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps I'm just suspicious, and we just simply have this madman gone mad, right? It happens. Just doesn't seem very likely. It seems like there's just been way too much false narrative and propaganda, and it makes me suspicious, you know? So I think that's pretty much it. Let's see. We've been lied to again and again, and it is just really annoying, isn't it? Did I already say this one? Did Dylan and Bethany, did they have jobs? I'm curious where they worked. You know, I mean, when you're dealing with homicide, everything is relevant. Everything, right? Like where Xana and Maddie worked, that's relevant. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you. So I'm going to wrap it up, and I'll be doing a video tomorrow morning, probably later in the morning, because I have an appointment to monkey wrench my morning time. So probably around 10:30, but I'll put an announcement up for that. And I'm going to sign off and say peace out. Have a great night. I hope you had a really good day and that you've been able to take good care of yourself and eat well, exercise, stay hydrated. Be relaxed and stretch and be nice to people and have people be nice to you. And that's about it. So I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys.